Welcome to another episode of Treknicity, the show where a couple of guys talk about Star Trek, and yeah, we have a pretty good time doing it. I am your host, Lars,
And I'm your other host, Brandon.
and we are back talking again about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Episode 5, Spock Amok. And before we get too far into the discussion, I'll just remember, now that I remember to do it, we'll just let you know the spoiler alert. Absolute spoilers. We're going to spoiler the crap out of it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well,
If you haven't watched it, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing? Don't turn around and like go away. Just watch the episode and come back and watch us again. Then you'll get all the
you can just
references.
pause it.
Yeah, that's right. Pause. What's pause? It's like when you're playing an MMO and your mom says, "Can you just pause your game?" Oh, Mom, I'm on a raid.
I'm not at a safe point yet.
He's right. So as always, this we talk about Star Trek. We've been doing quite a few of these episode recaps, and eventually, when they take a break, we'll talk about something else. But in the meantime, as I said, we are talking about Strange New Worlds Season 1, Episode 5, called Spock Amok, or as I am colloquially renaming it, Trekkie Friday.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yeah. So you also may notice, if you've watched us before, you notice we've got some new graphics going on. I got things kind of tidied up and looking a little bit closer to the way I wanted them to look initially. So still not quite done yet, but I figured why not roll out what I have, because it looks pretty kind of cool.
Heck yeah, it looks spiffy. I
Yeah.
like it.
So the other thing is, just to remind everybody that next Sunday, Brandon and I are going to be recording with Wes from Twin Cities Trekkies, and we will be appearing on an episode with him very, very soon. Also, if you haven't watched it, go and look up the Irreverent Nerds. The Irreverent Nerds podcast. Brandon and I appeared on an episode just this last Wednesday, and it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun having discussion about Star Trek and TNG and Borg episodes and things like that. That being said, we like to share the love here. So I'm gonna pay for the karma. You know what? I've worked today. I worked yesterday, and I worked 4 days before that. So I am kind of just like, so bear with me while I get into the rat killing, as my partner Patrick is off to say. Let's get down and let's pay for some karma with some wonderful people. Do you like reading comic books? Are you a comic book artist or writer? Do you love discussing comic book movies and TV shows? Then the Irreverent Nerd Podcast might be for you. Join co-hosts Richard and Will every Wednesday as they discuss these topics and more. You can also follow them on Instagram at irreverent_nerd. That's at IRREVERENT_nerd. See you around the Nerdverse, fellow humans.
Nerd alert.
Nerd alert, that's right. And one of my personal favorites, we'd like to say a shout out and a big hello, and I love you guys to death. The Starship Tempest podcast. It is a real play podcast where you follow the adventures, the bumbling and stumbling adventures of the crew of the Starship Tempest. Lots of stuff to laugh at, lots of stuff to actually tug on the little heartstrings, and just some cool Star Trek fun all around. You can find them at starshiptempest.com, and you can also find their podcast at wherever you get your podcast from. Apple, Google, Spotify. I don't know about iHeartRadio because
Napster.
Napster.
AOL Instant Messenger.
What was the other one? What was the one that came after Napster?
LimeWire.
Oh, that's right. Your favorite Trojan horse downloading tool. So yeah, go check them out at Starship Tempest podcast.com. And to the guys, we love you, and it's going to be cool because we're going to be having them on our show here very, very soon. And certainly last but not least, we have our friends at the In Star Trek We Trust podcast. It's kind of cool. Actually, there's a lot of similarities. Like I see them, one person is more of a gamer and the other one's kind of more of just a generalized nerd. So I see a lot of, what we do and what they do, and it's really cool. So you can check them out on Twitter at Star Trek We Trust. On Instagram at In Star Trek We Trust podcast. And of course, you can see their live episodes at twitch.tv/In Star Trek We Trust. Yay! Pay that karma. Show the love. I know it sounds funny. You say you pay the karma and all stuff like that. To be honest with you, we're not doing it to get anything back. We're just doing it because we like to share our love for Star Trek with these people, and they do their same thing. So you can call it what you like, but we just like sharing the love for this little community of ours. That being said, let's get to it.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Doom, doom, doom.
So, in this episode, it starts off with a very cool scene on Vulcan. I was like, that looks pretty cool. I mean, you got to give them credit for really bringing in the original series Vulcan scene. Of course, updated for modern times, but not so much that you don't recognize the same setting from Amok time in the original series. In it, we have Spock. He's hanging out. He's going to be getting married to T'Pring, and suddenly she's like, "Nope, I'm not gonna marry you because look at your ears." It cuts back to him. We see he's got human ears, and then she calls for the dun 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 Kalefi, which is the marriage channel.
And human eyebrows too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Human eyebrows, and no. I don't think he had any sideburns either.
It was just pure human.
And then he's like, well, who do I have to fight? And she points at somebody, and turns out it's the Vulcan version of himself. So it's like, okay, all right, cool. And they get down to it, start having a bit of a fight, and right when they're about to hit each other, he wakes up. We realize it's a dream. We realize
right when his Vulcan self was about to kill his human self.
Yeah, true. So that being said, we find out he's having a dream, and we realize that the last season was a dream, and Bobby's not really dead. Oh, sorry, wrong show. Wrong show.
Bobby.
Patrick Duffy in a shower. It was all just a dream. Wait, what? Wait a minute. Hang on a second. I'm calling BS on that. No, seriously. He wakes up and he's like, he realizes he's had a dream. So at that point, we pick up. The Enterprise is hanging out at a starbase and getting repairs. So that's one thing. I think we might have even talked about it in the last episode. We kind of mentioned that we were unsure as to whether or not the Enterprise would show up unscathed and all like in good condition. No signs of damage because, quite frankly, when in the last episode with the Gorn, they got their asses handed to them. But they were actually at Starbase. They'd been there for a hot minute, and they were like, "Yep, we're gonna go do some shore leave sort of stuff because we need a break."
I really like that. That really felt like an old Star Trek episode of like TNG or something, or Enterprise, because it was like, we need to go back to the base and do repairs. Like, they don't do that on Discovery. There's none of that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it just felt like an old episode TNG. So it's like they're having shore leave, and what kind of adventures are they going to get into? And those episodes are usually like the fun episodes, and this one did not disappoint. It was more comedic than usual. There was much more comedy in this episode.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. One thing I loved about it is that, we're at the point of Star Trek where they don't have holodecks.
Yeah.
So going off to some alien planet or some place, you want to go, but you have to stay on the ship because you can't get to the planet. They don't have that option, but they did show this really cool scene where when they're all getting ready to sort of, or like when there's a flyover and you see the Enterprise getting repaired, you look down and you see like these domes on the starbase, and under those domes you can actually see like a full on fully established biome, and it's
Yeah.
like
Like forest
and rivers
lake.
and you're like, what the, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, so you've got everybody kind of getting ready to take shore leave, but so like it's like Nurse Chapel, Dr. Mbanga, and was it Uhura? We're getting ready to go
No.
down.
It's the girl
Or
that
or no,
controls the
sorry,
ship.
Ortega's. Sorry, Lieutenant
Ortega,
Ortega's.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, and so they're getting ready to, like, they got their stuff, they're packed up, they're going to go down to the starbase and have some fun, and we find number one, Una, and oh my goodness,
Noonien
Laan, yeah, Laan Indian Singh, kind of tooling around,
Singh, yeah.
and they come, they're sort of chilling through the ship, and they get a security alert that, we got this problem. There's a security breach in the airlock. They go and check it out. Turns out they're crewmen. They're playing something called Enterprise Bingo, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, and before that, the reason why they're hanging out is because Dr. Babanga, I can never get his name right.
Mabanga.
he let slip that number one has a nickname, that she's no fun or whatever.
Yeah, the no
like
fun
she's not
zone.
fun to be around. Yeah,
Right.
no fun zone. So then her and Singh are now like, I'm like, they're gonna try and explore that they're not fun or whatever.
Right.
This is like
Yeah, there was
this is when
also
the hilarity ensues.
right. There's a scene before all that where we see that T'Pring is visiting, happens to be visiting the starbase because we find out that one of the things she does for the Vulcan society, or for Vulcan people, is that she works to rehabilitate offenders, and she is there to try to convince basically somebody to come back for rehabilitation. As such, she's decided she's gonna visit with her little Spock man, and he kind of blows her off. He gets caught up in this negotiation with a visiting alien race. They are in talks with the Federation, with the Klingons, with the Romulans to join them, and of course everybody's vying for their attention. I was kind of, they mentioned that these people are sort of very rude to the Tellarites, which is saying something because Tellarites are really, really rude. But so they sort of Admiral April pulls in Pike, who pulls in Spock, and they're sitting there trying to negotiate with these guys to join the Federation. And these guys are basically like, I don't think so. You're kind of a putz. What did you think of those guys? For some reason I just kept getting visions of Eeyore, the donkey, in my head with these guys. I don't know if it was the attitude or if it was the coloring or just something. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants us to be part of their federation. It's like, oh, guys, come on. We're very empathetic. And guys, please stop. Please stop.
The alien race?
Yeah.
I don't know. I got from them that they didn't want to join because they're like, what can you give us that we already have? That's what I felt from them.
Yeah, I mean, they do have that. I think a lot of it was, and they kind of they touch on it later on in the episode when they kind of figure out what these guys are all about. They're all like,
Yeah.
hey, they're they're just trying to be good people. They're just trying to see things from other people's perspective, and that's why they draw that out of them. Even to the point where later on they're insulting Spock, because prior to this all happening, the reason why T'Pring is pissed off with Spock is because he promised he'd be there for dinner. He got caught up in these first wave of negotiations, and of course he comes back late, and she tells him to go kick rocks. He realizes the error of his ways, decides he's going to show her, hey, I really am here with you. They have dinner, and then they kind of do this Katra transfer where basically we have the Star Trek version of Freaky Friday. And I kept making inappropriate jokes the entire time. I'm like, T'Pring is just going off into a private quarters and just checking out his wiener. like my wife's looking at me like, you're terrible. I go, yes, I am. But come on. You can't say that if you changed body with a different gender, that you wouldn't explore owning some new equipment, if you catch my drift. But it is kind of cool because they try to put it back, and they're like, oh, we've changed bodies. Let's just do the reverse. And surprise, it doesn't work. And we have a very fun episode of those two trying to, of course, they're like, that's fine, we'll just hang out, we just won't do anything until it goes away or we figure it out. And of course, like, Spock, we need you right now, it's an emergency. Of course you do. Fine, I'll be Spock, let's go. So they have this conversation with these aliens. The aliens are like, they start ragging on Spock, and they do it primarily to get Pike to stand up. And he does. He stands up for Spock, tells him, hey, no, dude, this guy's got your back. This, you're here because of me, yada, yada, yada. And the aliens were impressed. They're like, yeah, look, we wanted to see if you would actually stand up for your crewmen. And you did. That's very, very admirable. But of course, during the whole thing, what makes it happen is, of course, T'Pring is in Spock's body, and she's like, I have no idea what to say to these people. So, stummers and statters and hums and haws a lot of the negotiation, which triggers them, and it happens.
Yeah. So she gets stuck doing Spock's work. So kind of like day in the life of Spock, and
yep.
He goes and has to do a day in the life of her, so he goes and sees what her job is like. And
that's right.
More hilarity ensues.
T'Pring and Ortega's go down to the starbase to find this guy, and he's like,
no, Ortega. It's the doctor.
Is it?
Not
doctor.
Colin?
It's not the doctor. It was
the nurse.
Yeah, Nurse Chapel.
I thought. Oh, she's okay. Nurse. Yeah, I thought she was a doctor as well.
Yeah, no. Yeah, in fact, she doesn't become a nurse become a doctor until after the end of the series, the original series, because in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Dr. McCoy notes with fascination that Chapel became an MD. But look, I mean, no disrespect to Majel Barrett in any way, shape, or form, because she played the original Nurse Chapel on the original series. But Jess Bush is so cool as Nurse Chapel. I mean,
yeah, I love
she
her.
is cool. And the thing is that basically she and Spock sit down and have a meal, and they were kind of talking about things, and I was like, again, I'm talking to my wife, and she's like, what's the whole thing with these two? I'm like, Nurse Chapel has a huge crush on Spock, has been since the original series, and of course we know that at some point Spock and Uhura get together, at least in some iterations of the Star Trek universe. But they sit down, they have a meal, they have a discussion about things, and I think Spock is trying to get her perspective because of, well, actually, Spock isn't, but T'Pring is trying to figure out more about Spock because she's in his body. They end up going down to the starbase. They find this guy. They're like, "Hey, do you want to go and do rehabilitation?" He's like, "No." And so he ends up being a dick about the whole thing. In the end, T'Pring as Spock. No, sorry, reverse that. Spock as T'Pring. Duh.
Yeah, Spock as T'Pring.
Yeah, goes down there, and because he's such a dick about things, he pops her, or pops the guy, and is like, "Holy shit! Now I get it. Now I get it. Why she's so kind of wound up over this stuff. This guy's a dick, and this stuff isn't easy." So again,
I found that interesting. Was that guy was a criminal, wasn't he?
Under Vulcan,
weren't they supposed to? Yeah, under Vulcan, and they were supposed to. So they don't like arrest their criminals. They have to voluntarily come in or something.
Well, I mean,
is that what I was getting at?
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's not so much that they have to volunteer, but what they do is they give them the option of doing like rehabilitation or doing something else. And I don't know if the something else is that they go to prison, because we do know that, by the time the original series comes around, it's not explicitly said that they have prisons. As we know in Voyager, there's one prison in all of the Federation, and that's in New Zealand. And it's not even like a prison. It's a rehabilitation camp. It's where they try, they go to try to re-educate people, and not the Nazi-esque way, but definitely try to get them to see the error of their ways and figure out how not to do it anymore. And of course, the other prison we saw is from the original series, when we meet the character Garth of Izar, who was a brilliant strategist for the Federation during the 4 Years' War, and as such just kind of lost his mojo, went crazy, and whatnot. So as of, not counting the likes of, like, say, Ruapente, which is a Klingon prison, the Federation doesn't really have that much in the way of penal facilities. So the whole point is get them to come this person penile. In. What's that?
I was making a Beavis and Butthead joke.
Oh.
I said, you said penile.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dear.
But yeah.
So, yeah, she comes down. She's trying to convince him that, hey, this is the better option. Come and, and learn our ways again. And he's like, no, screw you, hippie. And so she just...
and then he talks crap about Spock.
Yeah, that's right. And then, of course, Spock, as T'Pring, gives him a nice, mean right hook.
Yeah.
And
knocks him out.
Yeah. And then, of course, they take him, they're going to take him back, and he's going to get rehabilitated. But it's kind of funny. I think, look, I know it's kind of like bouncing all over the place, but what's really cool about this episode and doing the Freaky Friday thing is that not only are those two characters learning more about each other by spending time in each other's bodies, but they're learning more about, like, we're learning more about these characters. And it makes it even more bittersweet knowing that later on T'Pring eventually does betray him and calls for the Khalifi so that she can marry Stan. Because basically, it comes down to, with the Khalifi, it's either Spock is going to fight to the death, and then he's not going to want T'Pring, so she's free to marry Stan, or Stan's going to kill him, and she's free to marry Stan because Spock is dead. So yeah, it comes down to we just see a lot of cool stuff, a lot of new things about these characters. And I was sitting there watching it. I was watching the opening sequence, the cold opener, where he's on Vulcan and he's fighting himself, and I was like listening. I was like, is that what I think it is? Wait a minute. Listen. It is! It's the Star Trek fight music! Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god, and the first time I think we hear it is actually in the episode of Muck Time, where Spock has to go back to Vulcan to because of Ponfar, he has to get married and mate and all that jazz. And I mean, they use it in other episodes throughout the series, but it was just like that's the first time we hear it, and I'm like, that is so freaking cool. Like I don't care. I don't care if it's fan service. That was freaking cool. So, what did you think overall? Like with the characters doing different things, not just Una and Ortega's not Ortega's Lan going through around the ship and playing Enterprise Bingo, where they use the transporter to reflavor chewing gum and you know
and do a duel.
yeah, the
Laser
duel
duel.
with the phaser pistols.
Phasers.
And then going out there and what they call it, barking the scorch, which is that
Yeah.
The oldest remaining panel, non-refit panel of the Enterprise, and it's got people's names written into it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I loved all those things, especially that scene when before they go interrogate the two girls that were opening
Oh
a
yeah,
door that they weren't supposed to. Before they go in the room, soon Singh goes, "Bad cop," and then
yep,
number one goes, "Damn it!" Like
yeah,
they both wanted to play bad cop, but
yeah.
she called it first. So
And they both definitely played off each other very well. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, seeing them, I want to see them together more.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that they are really doing a good job of, you know, I guess developing the relationship in these characters, and that's something
Yeah.
that I've talked about ad nauseum, especially to do with Discovery and also to a lesser degree Picard. They have this whole thing where they bring in these characters and they're just like, you have to love them. Why? Well, because they're Star Trek characters. You have to love them. You have to. They're part of Star Trek. You love Star Trek. You have to love these characters. And like, no, they're not really doing much for me to kind of really get in the groove with it. And they're like, no, you don't understand. You have to love them because you love Star Trek. You have to love all these characters. And I'm like, no, 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 no. But they are doing these really cool things with these various characters and showing them how they get along. And that being said, the only downside for this entire episode for me is we didn't get to see Hemmer. Like, dude, where's the engineer? Maybe he's getting his sorting his hand out from the last episode.
Yeah. Nah, I love this episode. I thought it was lighthearted. It was nothing like super serious. Everything was way more fun, and yeah, it was just a fun episode.
Yeah, I guess for me, the whole thing is that they continue down this path, which is a lot of fun. The characters are good. The stories are great. It makes you think. It makes you get excited. So, so far, so good. I'm very happy with what we're seeing. And from the preview of next week's episode, it looks like we got a kind of a Pike heavy episode where he has to, I guess, deal maybe with an old flame or some situation where he is a fish out of water, which looks really kind of interesting.
Nice.
So,
yeah,
as we wrap up, what do you think? What are your final thoughts on the series so far? Are you still just as much committed to watching it as you were at the beginning?
Oh yeah, even more so. I'm looking forward to every episode now. Anytime I watch it.
Yeah,
because they just keep improving. It's like it's always something new. I'm always learning something new, and it's enjoyable from the very first episode till now. Each episode is amazing.
The funny thing is that of course, you still have all these series coming out with new episodes right now. One of them is of course, Orville has come out with season 3, Orville New Horizons, which is kind of like they went in a very dark direction in the first episode of season 3. So I'll be interested.
I still haven't watched any of that show.
Yeah, I'll have to see how they go. But the whole thing is that you've got a lot of stuff. You got the Obi-Wan series still trucking along. I think we've got 3 more episodes of that before that series is due to wrap up. But
so far, horrible.
kind of a very kind of. I referred to Darth Vader as milk toast. And
Yeah, that third episode. Don't even get me started. It was just bad to worse the entire time.
there was one kind of particularly cool part of that episode for me, and that's when the stormtrooper fell off the thing and went through the barrier. He got chopped up into stormtrooper sushi. But final thoughts on our Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
I like you. I love it. I am very excited to see what comes next, to see what kind of adventures they get up to. So that being said, we're going to leave it there for now, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Very appreciative that you guys take the time to check us out. And we look forward to seeing you next week as we roll through another episode of Treknicity.
Yeah, very much so.
So, that being said, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Lars.
I'm Brandon.
And we will see you out there somewhere. And I think I just totally lifted that by accident from Starship Tempest. Part of it, anyways. And please don't be. If you guys are watching this, please don't be mad at me. I just love you guys. And anyways, we'll see you then. Bye, folks. Oh yeah, and let's not forget, rock out with your Spock out. But I love you, dude. I love your coin. That coin is awesome. Oh my god, look at that. That's a good shot of it right there. Look at that. It is freaking awesome. You have to tell us more about that. I know you told us before about the origin of the coin on the next episode. All right,
for sure.
We'll see you later, folks.
Later.